All right, today we are going to make an origami jumping frog. He's got two little arms at the front, little zigzag legs in the back, and when you gently press down on his bottom, whoop, he'll go off flying. So the first thing that we need to do is make our square. Now I'm going to do that by putting my finger in the bottom corner and grabbing my other corner. I'm going to gently pull this tightly and swing it all the way around until it lands on the long edge. What we want to do is get our short edge to line up perfectly with the long edge. And even after that, I still have a little space here. So I'm just going to take my corner right here, which I'm going to mark with a dot so you can see it a little better. There we go. And I'm going to slide it up the long edge until both sides line up perfectly. But keep going. I like to gently press here to really kind of squish it down. And once I have a wonderfully pointy little edge, I know I've got it correctly done. Now I have this rectangle up at the top that I need to get rid of. I just take my scissors and I'm going to cut along the paper's edge. You can either recycle this little paper, or if you want to be really creative, you can do the same process and make tinier and tinier squares to make some itty bitty origami. For right now, I'm just going to put it to the side. Now I've got my piece of paper, and all I need to do is open it up. I have my perfect square from measuring the short bottom edge. Now my first step is going to be to fold my paper in half from left to right. So I put my hand down, grab the other side, and I make sure to line everything up as perfectly as possible. You want to make sure that your lines are really nice and straight so everything comes together smoothly. I also like to fold along my edges either with my fingernail, pressing down, or with the round, smooth plastic edge of the scissors. This gets more and more important on the thicker folds that you do. And we're going to be working on double paper here, so it's going to be really thick. Now I'm going to quickly just take my marker and go around the outside edges so you can see where the edge of my paper is. This isn't something that you need to do, but I like to do it so you can see it a little more easily in my demonstrations. Because I know sometimes it can be a little difficult. Now, if you want to color your frog, you can do it beforehand or just wait until afterwards. So we're going to use what we've already learned about making our squares to take our top corner and bring it right down here. So I grab both papers, I do my jump, and I just slide it downwards until both edges perfectly match. And again, I'm going to come through with my scissors, because why not? And I'm going to go ahead and open it back up. See, I have a really nice little line there. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here, which you can see there's a faint line from when we made our square. So that's just helpful. Make sure my edges are lined up. Give it a press. And there we go. Now, anytime that you fold something over itself on the side you can see, that's called a valley fold, because it comes down in the shape of a V, or like a valley. Now, you can also do mountain folds by folding your paper behind itself, but I think it's a little easier to flip it over. Before we flip it over, we're going to make a little magic dot right where our two lines meet. That's going to be important later on. Hello. Hopefully it zooms back in. All right, so I'm going to just flip my paper over. It looks a little like a pyramid here. Now I want to take the top parts, there we go, the top parts of my X, my little folded X here, sorry it's a little hard to see, and bring them down to my bottom. So I'm simply lining up the folds. You can see a little of my dot there. Now I'm going to unfold it. The next step is going to be to flip my frog back over. And remember that magic dot? When I poke on it, boop, it's going to puff everything back up so it looks kind of like a little bow tie. Now we're going to do what's called a squash fold, where we're going to take these two triangles and press them down. It's going to start to bend the other sides in. Looks almost like a hooded cloak. Now once those are touching in the middle right there, take my hand, this is what's called a squash fold. I squash it down, and it looks a little bit like a little house with a funky zigzag roof. Now that zigzag roof is going to be our arms. So we have our two flaps here that are going to be our arms. I like to grab my froggy's little hand while holding one side. And just like when we make our square, I pull gently and swing it to the side. I like to put my arms right about here, but you can also put them all the way up at the front if you would like that better. I'm not going to press this super hard because we want to be a little springy. And simply copy on the other side. Now you're halfway done with your frog if you can believe it. Now the next step is going to be for us to really make it super thick down on the bottom. We're going to just ignore most of this for the rest of our frog fold. I'm going to take the very bottom edge and line it up with his little froggy armpits. So grab the edge, roll it on up, and boop, stop right at the bottom. Now this you can get back into your little scissor fold. This is going to make it super thick and springy for when we get those little leggies going. Now our next step is going to be to take these two triangles and fold them in half so they match right in the center. I take my hand to one side, grab the corner of my house where the roof and the walls meet, I fold it over. Now you might have noticed that I had to kind of tuck it under my frog's arm, and that is totally okay. It depends on how you have the arms of your frogs positioned, but it's up to you. Then I do the same thing on my other side. Alrighty. Now if you can believe it, we only have 2 more folds till we have a lovely little jumpin' buddy. I'm going to repeat what I did earlier. Try and see if I can white balance a little bit. Hold on, sorry about that. See, that might make it. There we go. It's a little easier to see. Take the very bottom part here and bring it right back up to his little froggy armpits. Whoop. Press it down. And then you can see that it's already not wanting to fold, and that's perfect to make a nice springy frog leg. Now the last step is to bring this little part from his armpits back down to his bottom. So I just put my thumbs here, my fingers behind my flaps, and fold it right back down. Now if your frog looks like a little letter Z at the back and a triangle at the front, you are ready to go. Set him down. Oops. Hope that your camera focuses. All right, so either way, let's see. Swoop. There we are. So this takes a little bit of practice to get him to jump. And based on how far back you've folded things, it might do backflips, it might scoot forward. It depends. Every frog's got its own little personality. I like to put my finger right in the middle of his bottom, and it's all about kind of sliding it down while pushing. I see some kids that try and shove it here, and they're like, why isn't he jumping? Well, you're pressing on his back. He's not very comfortable. You just got to surprise him by poking on the butt. Boop. And you'll get a little jump from your frog. It takes a little bit of practice, again, and sometimes, and sometimes it helps if you kind of pull the legs out just a touch to get that extra distance. So jump forth and enjoy your frog.